I'm very curious as to if the Niners have a plan to trade up in this draft. I think Minnesota and Houston has already set a precedent for what the cost of a mid first round pick might be, especially if the Niners decide to not move on from Brandon Ayuk, which I know you think they should trade him. I personally think that would be a huge mistake. From a dynasty perspective, I would love if Juwan Jennings was the number one receiving option on the team, but I don't think that's going to happen. But if the cost is the Niners' second round pick this year and a second round pick next year to get anywhere from 25 to 30, I make that trade in an absolute heartbeat, and you solidify the offensive line right now. And
Yep.
even if you take, I mean, even if it costs 31 and a second round pick to get up into the top 20 to get the tackle Futua, whatever his name is, from Washington.
Okay. Yes. Not the one from Oregon State. Sure. Yes.
Yeah, get the guy from Washington and then use, our third this year and a second next year to trade back up to the end of the first again to get either Cooper DeJean or the center whose name, of course, I can't remember at the moment. I saw that you were live. I wasn't expecting to hop on today. But I think that it's got to be one of those, like, look at the Christian McCaffrey trade and what that ended up netting us in terms of consolidating picks into a legitimate win now asset who can start right now. Because once everything with the salary cap resets, when we have to pay Purdy, we then have to start making, we've got to have these late first round contracts for as long as we possibly can with legitimate impact guys, because we're going to start losing stars like flies in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
If we pay Ayuk, which again, I think they need to pay Ayuk, that's got to happen. It took the Niners 15 years to find a wide receiver one. Like,
if they pay Ayuk, I'm not against it, but they would have to change their offensive philosophy and approach, which they could do. There's nothing stopping them from it.
Listen, there's nothing I want more than to see them trade Christian McCaffrey during the draft and give the keys to Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell, because McCaffrey was a decoy and the most important play of the entire season.
That is true. That's absolutely true. But if the 49ers were to extend Ayuk and then trade up for a really good right tackle and commit more to the passing game, I would be all about re-signing Brandon Ayuk. That would be a smart move. But it would have to be like a series of moves to go along with that. Not like we're going to pay him $30 million and use him the exact same way in the exact same offense. I just don't see that working.
No, not even a little bit. Ayuk has to be the type of guy that gets 160 targets a year.
I would agree.
It's a huge
Otherwise, what are you paying for?
Exactly. I mean, look, I've talked to you about this before. You look at the 2013-14 49ers, they had 3 of the exact same wide receiver. If you move on from Ayuk, like, Juwan Jennings is amazing, and every single one of his third down catches went for a first down or a touchdown this year. But if you have Juwan Jennings and Ronnie Bell and Deebo Samuel as your starting 3 wide receivers next year, how different are they from each other? Yeah, that's not going to work. You're not taking advantage of Purdy's skill set. And again, it's your last year to get this done with him on his rookie contract. Now, the other big X factor for me in terms of trades in the draft is, who is this year's Trent Williams? Who is this year's star player who's maybe towards the end of his career that we're going to be able to get for a 3rd round pick and a 5th round pick?
You tell me.
I have no idea.
I don't know about that one. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be big buyers this year. They low on cap space, and they got to work it out with Brandon Ayuk. We'll see what they do.
Yep. Also, your response to Eric Armstead's little podcast clip about the uniforms this morning, which, by the way, the Jaguars have the worst uniforms in the NFL.
That clip was so funny. Like, it was really funny to watch Eric Armstead sort of be in denial or try to put the best face on what he just did. He's like, man, always wanted to live on a beach. So that's nice.
Yep.
And like, man, they got white, they got some black and some teal.
Ooh.
Man, I could rock with that. Like,
I don't know.
Like, and the locker room, man, it's such a nice locker room. It's like, dude, I hope you like going 7-10. Is that what about that?
I could see how Jacksonville could be worse than could be better than Santa Clara. Santa Clara is not exactly the best part of the Bay. I grew up in Walnut Creek, by the way, so I'm not here.
Yeah, I work in Santa Clara, and I don't live there. I live in Oakland. I'd rather commute.
Yeah, 100%.
And a lot of people don't like Oakland. Sorry.
A lot of people are wrong about Oakland, let's be real.
I mean, honestly, like, I'm kind of upset with the whole Bay Area. to be frank, because this whole bipping thing is terrible. It's just not great. It's like, oh, cool. My car got broken into again. That's charming. Can't drive anywhere. They got to do something about it's a bipping crisis.
They got to do a lot of things about a lot of things. I think the best place to start is billionaires and guillotines.
Well, you know what the big difference between California or the Bay and New York?
Police. What? Bring it.
Not to go like super political, but when you go to New York as a Californian, the first thing you notice is like there are so many cops. They're everywhere.
You know what they're all doing 100% of the time?
What?
Playing Candy Crush on their phone, not paying attention.
I believe it. But at least they're there. And then you come out to the Bay and you're like, there are no cops.
Fair.
Oh, no wonder these cars are getting broken into in broad daylight on Broadway. It's like, oh yeah, because you can do whatever you want. That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, all right. Here's you want to know what the biggest.
Yeah, we just veered way off. Sorry.
It's all right. So I've lived in New York for 15 years. I grew up in the Bay Area. Grew up in Walnut Creek. Lived in San Francisco. Biggest difference between New York and the whole rest of the entire country: cars versus public transit.
Yup.
And the ability to embrace the collective suck. If you're stuck on a train and you're going around a curve on the train and you get stuck underground for 45 minutes and the base of the train's at a 45-degree angle, doesn't matter if you're homeless or a billionaire, we're the same.
Yep.
Whereas
I love that about New York.
Right. And whereas when you're stuck at that horrible 580 interchange in Emeryville, when you're trying to get on the Bay Bridge or go north to the North Bay and you're trying to get across to the far left lane and everybody's there and you're alone in your car and everyone's your enemy.
Yeah.
And that guy cuts you off and you're like, oh man, fuck that guy.
Hate you. And there's like a special diamond lane now that you can pay for the elite that you can just scoot past all of it. It's just so
They have that in some places on the East Coast here. For the most part, it's
if you think about it, you can't get bipped in New York because there's nothing to bip. Maybe
not having a car.
Exactly. Maybe it's just going to actually get California to commit to public transportation. It'd be nice.
I mean,
because BART really doesn't do much for you, man. It's like it brings you into like downtown San Francisco. Thanks.
That's and it stops running at midnight.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
the
that
amount
doesn't
of times I got stranded in San Francisco and had to take a $90 Uber ride back to Walnut Creek when I was in high school was terrible.
Terrible. Yeah.
Terrible.
I'm pissed. 36 years old and this grinds my gears. I'm running for city planner.
Honestly, do it. Listen, either I'd take you as quality control or the governor of California at this point.
I just decided I'm quality control for Oakland right now.
We'll take it. All right. Well, Grant, thanks for taking the call.
How about like bulletproof windows on every car? You can't bip them.
Nerf cars.
And if you left your like dog in the car, you couldn't save it. So
Nerf cars.
Nerf cars. I think that would work. Cars.
Yeah.
I'm going to solve the bipping crisis. It's going to be my legacy.
Do it.
All right. Have a good one.
Peace out, Grant. Thank you.
Peace. Anyone else wants to call in? You're welcome to.